Our next guest is one of the top promoters in boxing history. Bob Arum has promoted fights for the greats like Muhammad Ali and Manny Pacquiao, and Arum's next promotion for Top Rank is Pacquiao against WBO champ Jesse Vargas on November 5th. Bob, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Hey.
Nice to be here.
It's an honor to have you here.
Absolutely, it is.
What can we expect from Manny Pacquiao on November 5th?
Well, it's going to be interesting. First of all, it's Senator Pacquiao.
Senator Manny Pacquiao.
There's only 24 senators in the Philippines. He's been elected for a 6-year term. It's a nationwide election. And he promised the people of the Philippines that he would not miss a session of the Senate. So, and he hasn't. And he's on committees and he's committee chairman, which means that he works at his day job being a senator from 9 in the morning until 6 at night, and can train only early morning when he runs. And then after the Senate is out of session, he goes to a gym about a mile away and he spars. Now, Shannon, you're a world-class athlete. He's a world-class athlete. It's a very, very hard thing to do, to have a full-time day job and train for a fight.
Absolutely.
So, Mr. Arum, can you see any way that Floyd Mayweather Jr. will ever agree to fight Manny a second time?
Well, first of all, Manny got to get by Jesse.
Right.
Because Vargas is coming, coming on, and he's becoming a knockout artist. He used to be a defensive fighter. Now he's really punching hard, and he knows he's not going to fool around with Manny defensively. He's going to go and try to get a knockout. And Manny, who's smart, realizes that his training hasn't been really ideal. So that means go out and try to knock Jesse out. I don't know who's going to win the fight, truth. But I know for sure the winner is going to win by a knockout. I guarantee you it's going to be a knockout.
Okay, so if Manny knocks out Vargas, would Floyd ever agree to fight him again?
Well, isn't that a question, Skip, to ask Floyd Mayweather or his mouthpiece, Stephen A. Smith?
It's really just for Floyd. But I don't know. I don't know what Floyd stands to gain from it, except the money that it would produce.
I mean, the money for the first fight was humongous.
Right.
I mean, I've never seen anything like it. And the money for a rematch, if it happened, wouldn't be as great, but it would still feed a lot of people in the Philippines. Now, why is my guy, Pacquiao, still fighting? You know, he's a senator and he's made a lot of money. He's fighting for the money because whatever he earns, he gives to charity in the Philippines. What athlete that you know of just has built 1,000 homes in the Philippines, which he gave to poor people who were living in hovels? Gave the homes to them. He buys outboard motors for fishermen so that they don't have to waste time rowing to get out to the deep water. So he has a need all the time for money, but it's a great need because he is charitable. And that's why I've been so blessed in this sport, because I promoted Ali, who also was a saint-like figure, just like Manny Pacquiao.
But if he were to look convincing and knock Vargas out, do you think the likelihood of that fight between Mayweather Jr. and Manny would happen then?
Shannon, that's a question to ask Floyd, not me, because Floyd is going to make his own decision. So I don't want to sit here and say, yeah, then the fight will happen, and then Floyd will say, you're using my name to promote a Manny Pacquiao fight. I don't need that stuff.
Okay.
You've been in the boxing game for 50-plus years.
Yeah.
Give me the 3 best fights that you've witnessed in person.
All right. My all-time favorite is Hagler and Hearns.
You promoted that fight, correct?
Yeah. I took them on, never been done before, on a tour. We had 2 planes, and we did 26 cities in 14 days. And halfway through, they had gotten on each other's nerves so badly that there almost was a fist fight in St. Louis in Stan Musical's restaurant. And I had to yell, you know, if you guys fight here, nobody's getting paid. So they calmed down. They calmed it down. So that fight, the bell rings, They don't care anything. They go at each other. It's the most ferocious 3 rounds you've ever seen. So that's my favorite. The second one is like watching death, and that was the Ali Frazier third fight in Manila. I mean, it was because of the difference in time. It was early in the morning, you know, so it could be prime time in the United States. And these guys fought a fight. First, Ali is beating the hell out of him. And then Frazier comes back out of nowhere and looks like he's going to knock Ali out. And suddenly Ali comes on and starts beating up Frazier, closing both his eyes so Frazier can't even get out of his corner in the 15th round. People were mesmerized. And now it was in Manila, and we walked out of the Araneta Coliseum, and it's noon, high noon, and the sun was as bright as I've ever seen it. It was almost like a surreal experience. So that's my second favorite. My third favorite was a fight that I did in the Orange Bowl in 1981, and it was the late Aaron Pryor and Alexis Arguello. Yep. What a fight that was. Alexis had him out at the end of the 13th round, and Panama Lewis gave Pryor a bottle of God knows what, and suddenly Pryor comes out and knocks out Alexis. But what a fight that was.
So you did promote a number of Ali fights, and you were
25.
25 of them.
Wow.
And I read that when Ali refused induction and he took the 43 months, he accepted his ban, that you were able to pull a few strings, and you got it to where through the Lyndon Johnson administration, if he had done some appearance work, that he could have continued to fight?
This is one of my dear, dear friends is Jim Brown. And Jim was the guy who introduced me to Ali and got me into the business. So now when Ali takes the position that he's not going to go into the service, I had a partner in my law firm who was the treasurer of the Democratic Party. And we worked out a deal with Lyndon Johnson. Ali, you don't have to put a uniform on. Just do some exhibitions at military bases and continue your professional career. Wow. So I go to Jim, and this was the time when we were, working hard to get black people into business, particularly athletes. So the idea I had with Jim Brown, in those days we had closed circuit exhibitors having regions of the country, and it was very lucrative. And football players were making like $10,000 a season. So I said, Jim, get all the athletes together, the black athletes, let them talk to Ali and convince him to take this deal. And I will divide up the country and make these guys my regional exhibitors. So Jim got Willie Davis. There weren't that many black guys in the NFL then, but all of them that were there, the good ones, he brought to that meeting. Bill Russell came. Lou Alcindor was he was a college student. He came, and the idea, Bobby Mitchell, I remember, the idea was to convince Ali to take the deal. Now, Bill Russell, when he reported accurately that was the purpose of the meeting. And they started talking to Ali, and then Ali got up and talked for 2 hours and convinced them that what he was doing was correct, not going in and so forth, and they all agreed to back him. Now they tell the story that they all met to talk Ali, to tell him that they were supporting him, which is not true. Anyway.
Okay. So he believes so strongly in his anti-Vietnam stance, he didn't even want to appear for the military to continue fighting.
Actually, it was a sweetheart deal. It was the best deal that the government could work out to save face. Everybody wanted to save face. And look at what this guy did. He said no to that deal. It meant that he would be indicted and convicted for draft evasion. So he faced 5 years in prison. his licenses were taken away. So people say, were you ever worried that he never could fight again? Hell no. I was worried that the guy would go to jail.
Right.
You know, and he almost did, because he was convicted in the U.S. District Court. The case went up to appeal to the Court of Appeals.
Lost that.
They affirmed the conviction, and then he goes. They file what we call a writ of certiorari to the Supreme Court, and 4 justices have to agree to take the case, and only one justice, Justice Brennan, wanted to take the case. But what happened in that period was the judges had clerks, young clerks, and the clerks worked on the justices one by one. So finally, not only did they take the case, but they unanimously reversed. Wow. It's a great story. HBO did a documentary on that Supreme Court situation. That is fantastic.
So, Shannon, you want to talk about having the courage of your conviction?
Absolutely.
To sacrifice the prime of your career for 43 months on this conviction to where, I mean, where you're so...
Sacrifice? They all illegally took his license away. So finally, when, while he was still, had been under the threat of going to jail, a judge, a U.S. District Judge in New York, Judge Mansfield, said that despite the fact that he had been convicted of draft evasion, that was not ground to deny him a license. So they made New York State grant him a license, and that enabled me to promote the first fight for Top Rank. I had another company before then. The first fight for Top Rank was Ali and Bonavina, December 7th, 1970 in Madison Square Garden. Wow.
Unbelievable.
You got a lot of
Great
stories.
story.
I got a lot of stories.
You got to write a book. You write the book.
I got Bill Dwyer's looking to write a book. Bill. Bill.
I do very well. Former editor of the LA Times.
LA Times sports editor.
Awesome. We thank you so much.
And what a great thing it was, because in 1975, for the Thriller in Manila, I co-promoted that fight, and I got to know Imelda Marcus, and so now, years later, I come back as Manny Pacquiao's promoter. So I get a call, could I have dinner with Imelda? And I said, sure. And so I meet her at a hotel, and she comes with this other couple, and the musicians are up on a balcony. And as she comes in, they play music, and we have dinner in a private room, reminisce and so forth. And we took a picture, and she sent me a photograph of Imelda and myself saying, from Ali to Manny Pacquiao,
wow.
You are the greatest. That's
cool.
Wow.
Way to go.
Awesome.
Thank
you
for
so
sharing.
much
Great
for
career,
joining us,
Mr.
Bob.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Remember, the Pacquiao-Vargas fight is on November 5th, and there are 3 additional title fights in the undercard in that fight. Thank you so much for being here.
And they're great undercard fights, title fight. Let me take a second. I know you got to get off. But one of the title fights involves the Chinese fighter, it wasn't a big sport in China, who won 2 Olympic gold medals. And he's fighting for a world title against a Thai fighter. They expect an audience of 100 million people in China to watch this event. 100 million, more than any Super Bowl.
That's amazing.
Cool.
Thank you so
go.
much for being
Thank
here,
you.
Bob. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Coming up, the World Series heads back to Wrigley, tied at a game apiece.